Welcome to the Strenuous Life Radio, the podcast where leaders, entrepreneurs, and entrepreneurs, men and women, learn the essentials and soft skills of the strenuous life. I know you probably don't want to hear this, but Jimmy's got irons in the fire today. He's got one podcast to do, and well, I'm taking over this one. We're in the Posse House. We're going to be discussing, this is episode 113, leadership versus management. Now you see, that's been a dilemma, I think, in our federal government for decades now, since the assassination of John F. Kennedy. You think about it. Lyndon Johnson, he was somewhat of a leader, I might add. Say nothing about Vietnam. I wasn't around. And the Great Society programs, well, in some ways they're a failure. Richard Nixon, let's face it, that man was into management. That was his thing. So was Gerald Ford. So was Jimmy Carter. Then you had Ronald Reagan. It's the first big leader, I think, since Kennedy. Ronald Reagan, he did the best he could despite the reactivity and deceptiveness of the press. Now, George Sr., there's no doubt what was going on in his mind. He was more of a manager. That's why he didn't succeed. Bill Clinton. Well, I gotta say it's kind of divided because of so much scandal. One can hardly consider him maybe a leader because of his scandals with sex and drugs. You ever doubt that a documentary I recommend you watch, even though it's old, is Clinton Chronicles. But this ain't gonna be no political show, okay? We're gonna end this short. So I think Clinton, well, to some degree, I gotta say his first term he was more of a manager to some degree. Maybe a little less so in 93 and 94. And then his second term, I guess he was more of a leader. Except when you count Monica Lewinsky. Now, from there, we got George W. And I gotta say, for good or for ill, that man was a leader. Well, his first term, he was a leader. And he could have been for a second term, but I think he kind of got developed the manager's mindset of his daddy. Well, full of greats. Don't get me wrong. And then there is Obama. What can I say? His first term, he was mostly a manager. On occasion, he was a leader, but that's debatable. His second term, he divided time between being a leader and a manager. Now, Trump, I gotta give you this. Trump was a leader. Okay? You can't tell me he wasn't. Now, I'll say nothing about the current president. It's too early in his term. Now, Jimmy says that leadership is more than just a one-man show. Alright, that might be true. But the host of being the owner of JR Hendrick and Environment, whenever I'm in town, whatever I say as far as the company goes. And when I'm out of town, I empower the other leaders to do it. Because I'll tell you something. I know you may not want to hear this, but it just, in many ways, it just is what it is. Now, That being said, I have to agree with Terri Seville-Foy about this one thing. Organization goes down. It's the lone leader that's responsible. Alright, now I agree with Jimmy Hendrick about this one thing. The Texas Red Raiders and football team ain't doing well. I'm going to be asking for another coach. And, if Jimmy ever gets the gumption like I do, I'd tell that new coach, look, you can do anything you want in my city. I just want my team to win win them football games. See, that's what matters to me. Now, that's where I'll plug in with the sports. But see, she quoted John C. Maxwell when she says, everything rises and falls on leadership. Everything. Now, I know you don't want to hear that. You don't want to hear that. Well, how about this one for size? How about the most successful leader of them all? How about Jesus Christ? I'm going to give Jenny a few minutes to promote somebody. That's right, I am. You want to learn about how to have a personal relationship with the most successful leader of all? You need to check out the podcast Helping a Hurting World with Father Michael and Father Michael's Ministries. Now, my podcast and his podcasts are on most any podcast outlet that's known. iHeartRadio, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Podcast Addict. These are the only ones that aren't is Apple and Amazon. And I may do something about getting it on Amazon. Okay? At some point. But here's the thing you need to know. Alright? Here's the thing that you need to know. Helping a Hurting World is going to help you become personally acquainted with the most successful leader of all. Back to you, JR. We at the Policy House, we know it's a good leader. And more it ain't. You think about the presidents of the 20th century. Now, I've been up to Kennedy. I'll be honest with you. Roosevelt. Teddy Roosevelt was a leader. Alright? William Howard Taft was a manager. Woodrow Wilson was a leader to some degree. Warren G. Harding was a manager. Calvin Coolidge was a leader. Herbert Hoover was a manager. Franklin D. Roosevelt was a leader. Harry Truman was a leader, then turned into a manager because of Korea. Dwight D. Eisenhower was a leader. Now, you know about the rest of the story, so I'm not going to digress there. But let's say there's a company, and it's called Christopher Consulting. And the main leader goes to jail on a scandal. And then his daughter takes over. And she's pretty weak. What could be set up is a friendly takeover. Or hostile takeover. Because here's the thing. When there's a takeover, you think about this, something that John Maxwell said. There's this guy who would buy resorts. And he would fire the manager of every resort saying, that person's not a leader. Something wrong with that organization, why it needs to take over, then you get rid of the leader. That's as simple as that. Now, I know what Jimmy says. We're all a team. And teamwork makes the dream work. But like he also said, It could be a contradiction if I ever did see one. And that is, it's not about teams. Unfortunately, teams lose now as Cowboys. Teams lose our favorite Texas Tech Red Raiders. I hope you enjoyed the Streamless Life Radio. If you like what you used to subscribe, become a part of Streamless Life community. Now, think strong, live the Streamless Life. God bless you, you hear?